I was just like how you are. I was always crying and felt hope was gone. I wondered, why did I have such a worthless son? He brought me only humiliation. I just felt like I couldn't go on.
Auntie, why is life always so full of suffering? Life would be a lot better without pain.
At the time, I thought the same thing. Why are people's lives so painful? Why can't we escape from all the suffering? When I started to believe and understand the truth of God's words, I started to learn the truth. Mankind is corrupt, and there's meaning to all of our suffering.
You believe in God? In God?
During my very worst times, a friend of mine shared the gospel. He said, God created mankind. God rules over our destiny. Where we come from, where we go, our whole lives are arranged by God. If we believe in God, we'll understand these things about human life. It doesn't matter what difficulties we have, setbacks, or failures in our lives. It's all in God's will. We believe in God and have undergone difficulties. It allows us to see the truth and God's actions, gain God's care and protection, and walk the proper path. As long as we seek the truth and pray, rely on God in all things, God will protect us, care for us. He will give us a way out and resolve all our problems. My friend bore witness to the words and work of God in the last days, and gave me a book of God's words. The Word appears in the flesh. Ever since then, I've read God's words every day and prayed to Him. I shared all of my difficulties with God, and I met brothers and sisters, had fellowship. By that time, I understood. God does carry in His hands the fate of mankind, rule over us, and arrange people's whole lives. We all live with pain every day because Satan has corrupted us. Humans turned their back on God, and we lost His care and protection, falling under Satan's domain. Satan has fooled mankind. That's why our lives are tragedy. People live only for vanity, for fame and status. It's all Satan's affliction on mankind. Living like this, of course we're in pain. I finally see things clearly. Actually, God allows people to suffer so in order to show mankind how Satan corrupts and afflicts us. This is the only way we can hate and reject Satan, and instead come pray to God, seek to live based on His words, cast off the shackles of sin, and gain God's salvation. This is God's will. All of this was my guidance from the words of God that made me understand the truth and truly know in my heart that God is love, and only God can save all mankind. While believing in God, I've seen His guidance and His protection and His salvation in many things. My heart is brighter. Believing in God is great, and is really the right path in life. Almighty God's words very clearly explain the root of people's pain in life. Let's take a look at His words together. Then you'll see.
That sounds great.
Let's read together. Almighty God says, Adam and Eve, created by God in the beginning, were holy people. Which is to say, whilst in the Garden of Eden, they were holy, untainted with filth. They were also faithful to Jehovah, and knew nothing of the betrayal of Jehovah. This is because they were without the disturbance of the influence of Satan, were without Satan's poison, and were the purest of all mankind. They lived in the Garden of Eden, undefiled by any filth, unpossessed by the flesh, and in reverence of Jehovah. Later, when they were tempted by Satan, they had the poison of the serpent and the desire to betray Jehovah, and they lived under the influence of Satan. His thoughts were filled with evil and filth, without good or holiness. Is this not Satan? Mankind has developed through tens of thousands of years of history to get to where they are today. However, the mankind of my original creation has long ago sunk into degeneracy. They have already ceased to be what I want, and thus humanity, as they appear in my eyes, no longer deserves the name of mankind. They are rather the scum of mankind that Satan has taken captive. The rotten walking corpses that Satan lives in, and in which it is clothed. People do not in the least believe in my existence, nor do they welcome my coming. Satan corrupts people through the education and influence of the national governments and the famous and great. Their lies and nonsense have become man's life and nature. Everyone for himself and the devil take the hindmost is a well-known satanic saying that has been instilled into everyone and become the human life. There are some other words of life philosophy that are also like this. Satan educates people through each nation's fine traditional culture and causes humanity to fall into and be engulfed in an expansive abyss of destruction. And in the end, people are destroyed by God because they serve Satan and resist God. We should